These 3 portraits were all made with Rembrandt lighting. Same technique, different levels of gear and setup. The first one light, no modifier. The second, 1 light, but with a softbox. And the third, 2 lights. I'm going to walk you through all 3, and by the end, you'll know exactly how to create each one. Before we set up a single light, I want to show you what this technique is actually doing to the face. The goal of Rembrandt lighting is depth. When the light hits a face straight on, it flattens everything out. The face loses its shape, it looks kind of two-dimensional. But move that light to the side and elevate it slightly, and the shadows start to follow the contours of the face. The cheekbone becomes visible, the jawline gains more definition, and the face starts looking more three-dimensional. What tells you found the right position is going to be a small triangle of light that forms under the eye on the shadow side. The nose shadow and cheek shadow seem to touch, creating that triangle, and leaves a small pocket of light underneath the eye. That triangle is going to be your indicator or checkpoint that you got it. Enough shadow to create shape, enough light to keep the face readable. And that's the whole technique. Everything from here on is just applying it at different levels. Now I'm going to show you how to do the first relatively simple setup with no bulb. I'm using the Godox 8200 to show you the shot. I'm seated facing the camera, and this light, a really good point of reference for me is that I can physically grab the light and move it around. That distance for me works pretty well. It's about 3 feet, 2.5 feet. Have this position at about a 45-degree angle, and it's going to be above eye level. Now, depending on the face that you're shooting, you'll need to fine-tune this. And if I take a shot right now, this is considerably above eye level, probably about a good 10 inches or so. If I take a shot now, there you can see the triangle that appears on that edge, and it's very three-dimensional. There's a lot of shadow that's raking across that face. If I make little adjustments, so let's say now I go down, and now I'm going to actually turn a little bit more towards the light, keeping my nose kind of between the light and the camera. I can lengthen that triangle, and all it does is it just adds different degrees of depth, and depending on the face shape is really what you would use as, oh, I want the light higher or lower, but this is the very basic setup here that you would want to do. I'm going to make another adjustment here, bring it a little bit closer, and you can see I drastically reduce the triangle. So different positions will make that different adjustment. So I'm going to get another shot, and this time I'm turning my head away again. And you can see I've almost overexposed a little bit on the image, but I've still gotten that triangle of light right there. I actually really like that position, so I might play around with that a little bit to get a frame that I like. Nice, I like that. So just like I showed you, there's variations to this Rembrandt setup. Here's the head-on portrait, and then now here is a 3/4, and you notice if I move my face, I'm gonna have to move that light with me, so it still maintains about that 45-degree in relation to my face. There I've lost it, so I'll move it back a little bit. Good, and now we have a profile version of this where I'm going to now show the profile and maintain that same angle and distance in relation to my face. And there's your profile Rembrandt. Now, before we get to the next level, I want to show you something that will make this whole technique a lot easier to remember and harder to forget. Rembrandt lighting is actually named after a Dutch painter, Rembrandt van Rijn, who lived in the 1600s. And what most people don't know is that he wasn't trying just to paint faces. He was trying to solve a specific problem. He wanted his portraits to feel more three-dimensional, present, human, emotional. At a time when most portraiture was flat, formal, and decorative, Rembrandt wanted his paintings to look like they existed in the space, like you could reach into the canvas and touch them. He painted over 40 self-portraits chasing after that quality. In almost every single one, you see the same thing. One side of the face is lit, while the other is falling into shadow with a small triangle of light beneath the eye. He was working with limitation. A candle, an oil lamp, whatever light came through a small north-facing window. And that limitation turned out to be exactly what created the depth he was looking for. The shadow wasn't a problem he was trying to solve, it was the answer. Now, photographers nowadays have been recreating that mood intentionally ever since by adding more modern techniques. But if you really wanted to capture the feeling of this technique, not just worry about the placement of light, think of your light the way he thought of his: small and directional, shadow that has somewhere to go. The closer you get to imagining a candle or a window rather than a strobe, the closer you'll get to what made these portraits famous for hundreds of years. Now we're going to go into the next level by adding a modifier onto this light. Let's get a reference to start off with. Same position, 45 degrees, an angle here. Simple, right? Now, I'm going to add a softbox to this, and the only thing I'm going to adjust is the power, just because at the moment I add something in front of that light, I just need to increase the power. I'm not going to change the angle or height or anything. I'm using a octabox here. This is 25 inches with one sheet of diffusion. You can see, again, I didn't change anything about the position. I just added a modifier on this. The light quality, as you can see, is more flattering, but then you lose that triangle of light. You get a little something up here, but it's not as defined as the harder light. There are a couple different solutions to this, and you're always going to run into this problem whenever you start adding a larger source of light. To start, the easiest thing you can do is just move the light farther back. That's going to make the light apparently smaller and start to bring back some of that triangle pattern, that indicator. It's not so much about the triangle as it is about the balance between the darkness and the brightness, but that triangle pattern is sort of like that checkpoint or indicator that you're going for to know that you've achieved that right balance. So let's start by increasing the distance. So we went from about 2.5, 3 feet away. And I know I'm gonna need to increase the height of the light too. Okay, good. Increase the power. Let's see what we got. And there we've got the triangle back, but I'm gonna increase the power a little bit more. And so with that size modifier, now that's about 5 feet away. That's how far I had to push it back to get that shadow to brightness back. And there we go. The shadow is softer, that transition, but we've still accomplished that Rembrandt lighting. Another way that I can control the light is by doing something called feathering. So simply by moving this light away from me, so the center is no longer pointed at me, right? But I actually just have the edge, then I can also accomplish that. And that's another way that you can control your light to still get that similar effect while getting a softer transition in the shadow. Another thing that you can do to fix this problem, get a soft light without ruining that light pattern, is by adding what's called a grid or a honeycomb. And that looks like this. Basically, it's a sheet of this material in this box grid-shaped design. And what that does is it helps to narrow that beam of light so you can avoid the light that's wrapping around while still getting a larger light source. Now I'm gonna bring this closer to me. So I have it about a similar position I had it before. Now I might need to adjust the power, but let's see. There we go. I need to increase the power, but it gets a lot closer to that look that we're going for. So now I'm going to angle it here. Better, but there's still too much light wrapping around. So now I'm going to adjust the height of the light. Because remember, it's going to vary from face shape to face shape. Just adding some control here. Now I have this position so it's much closer to the 90-degree mark, about 1.5 feet away. That's super dramatic. Need to increase the light power, but now we've essentially accomplished what we were going for. There we go. Now I'm going to change the position of my head, decrease the height of the light. Good, bring it back. Without changing the light, now I'm just going to move my head. And that's an example of how you can add a modifier without ruining that while still creating the softer light. Now we're going to take that last setup, specifically the one with the grid, and I'm going to be adding a second light. So just with the original light that we had, the only thing I'm doing is I'm actually feathering the light in the opposite direction. So instead of having it tilted away, I'm having it tilted more towards the background with just the edge with the grid on that is taking a picture of me. and you can see right there a triangle pattern. The second light I'm adding is the Godox V1 Mid, and it's in a bracket, and it's just out of frame behind me, just above my eye level, and I have it pointed down. The intention is to light my head and the shoulders, and I'm going to show you what that looks like without the key light. Right there, you just have an outline of this shoulder and this part of my head. Very little bit is touching this shoulder because I already have the key light that's brightening this. Now let's turn the key light on and add the two together. And that is a great example of adding these two lights to create this polished, more modern Rembrandt look. It's definitely not the Dutch look that you would normally see, but it adds a really cool effect and can change up the game if you wanted to add a little something extra to your shot. 3 setups, 1 technique. Hard light gives you the pattern immediately. Dramatic, graphic, 1 light, no modifier. Soft light gives you more flattering results, but you kind of have to work with it a little bit more to hold that pattern. A second light as a rim separates the subject from the background and takes the portrait into more of a professional, upgraded territory. The light position doesn't really change across any of these, but what changes is how much control you're adding around it. If you want to see how light direction can actually reshape a face, making it appear wider or narrower, before you even touch an editing program like Photoshop, that's in the next video on broad and short lighting.